things, I'm sure. Things that are probably way over my head, and most things are actually. So, but they treat them like adults. And again, they teach them everything from a very young age. I mean, they go to school for 150 years. You know, God, you got to pick up some stuff after that. You know, and there's no home ec and stuff like that. I mean, it's like real educational stuff. You know, no car mechanics 102 or anything like that. Yes, sir.
My question has to do with the seeding of this planet by the Andromedans originally. You mentioned 62,000 years ago in a time period of only 65 years, but I'm specifically interested, do you know of any symbols or any information about reawakening latent genetics for people who are on this planet, and is there any relationship of Lemuria to that 62,000 year ago time period?
Lemuria was in existence at that point. Atlantis was just beginning to be colonized. Now, folks, let me set you straight on something, or what the Andromedan perspective is. Atlantis was an extraterrestrial colony. Okay? I know that there's a lot of channeled stuff and other stuff that's done in remote viewing, and I don't know if it's all true or if it's not true. But the Andromedan perspective is that Atlantis was an extraterrestrial colony. Specifically, Lemuria was also. However, there were some of us Terrans there. Okay, and we were servants, more or less. Okay? Some of the stronger genetic of our race were used as a priesthood to basically keep in line the other humans. I mean, if you go back and you look at history through Sumeria, Egypt, even today, today the new priesthood is the world bankers. They have total control of your life on a monetary, physical level. It's hard to do anything on this planet without money. And they're the new priesthood. As far as latent DNA and latent memories, I have been told, and I for some reason, I don't know why, I can't find my specific dates. But there will be a point where as the frequency increases, that we will start to remember things. Children today are already remembering things. There are children today who can just speak all these different languages, and that are not Earth languages. Some of them are extinct languages from Earth that some of these children just know, and it's the latent memory in the DNA that is coming out. And more of this will be occurring. I know that there are children today. I know of a woman who's contacted me who lives in Tennessee. She has a child who came to her one day and says, Mom, if I were to reverse engineer a nuclear bomb and explode it, it would draw all the radiation out of here. This kid's 6 years old. And there are children today over in Egypt that are walking out into the desert and showing archaeologists, well, I remember there was something there, a library. And sure enough, they're digging and they're finding the foundations of things. And our government probably does know because of its satellite technology, but there's no way a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid should know that stuff because it's all being suppressed. So the world powers have a real serious problem. People are waking up, and it's great. We have to. Our heritage has been denied us. We've been robbed of it, and don't let it go. Don't let it go. We need to know who we are. Thanks. That was a good question. Yes, ma'am. Let's just take a few more, okay, folks? I'm pretty tired. Okay, 2 more. If there's 2 people. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know you said they were taking of children and the eating of children or the eating of people. And then while I was down there, you talked about the eating of children or people. And while I was there, you said it was because of the purity of the passion and emotion brought up the fear, the high fear, and the high adrenal activity was attractive to them. I understand that. But an advanced technology, it would seem to me, would be able to clone their food or clone. We can make adrenaline supplements or different things.
Okay. Now, I want you to look at this idea. When is anything that's a clone as good as the original? Okay. What you fail to realize is, yeah, they can create clones, and they have human clones, but you cannot put soul in it. Okay? You may grow an organic processor in the brain to get them to act and do everything, but there's no soul attached to it. And as long as there's no soul, you don't have true emotion. True emotion? Well, your adrenaline rush. Okay, if I were to go over and do something to you and scare the hell out of you, okay, you would have a very serious emotional rush. Okay? They're addicted to the peaking of that emotional rush. It's like a narcotic to them because they don't have it. That's why they're so interested in us. They're numb. They're numb. Their physicalities are numb. They're all in their head. They're in self-imposed loneliness. Okay? Yes? I'm sorry?
Do they terrify the children?
Yes, ma'am, they do. The question was, do they terrify the children? And I said yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Do you have any information that you can give us that would shed light on the mystery of gravity on this plane? And is it indigenous to this planet? Or is it a mutation? And
Say that again. Is there what?
Is it indigenous to here, to the solar system?
Gravity?
Yes, to Earth. Or is it a mutation? And would it disappear when the frequencies begin to raise?
Okay. The Andromedan perspective regarding gravity is that it is created by radiation from the sun and our planet. We're told that it's the rotation of the planet on its axis. Their perspective is that it has to do with the radiation from the sun. And they say that any physical body that is 29 miles or larger has a gravitational field. They have gravity on the Andromedan craft, and I would assume that's for a reason, so that they could get more done, so they're not just floating all over the place. I don't believe it's a mutation. There's gravity on all the fields because there's a physicality. So there has to be some form. Whether or not it's going to totally disappear, I think as we move through 3, 4, and into 5th, I think we will deal with a totally different type of gravity as we know it. It'll probably be lighter, but then again, we will have different physical form as well. But again, they say that it comes from the sun. It's the radiation from the sun that creates gravity on our world. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I have 2 questions. One quickly. They display mutual respect and love, but I'd like to know how they do that. And the second question, in our society, all of our myths and legends seem to be blueprints for our lives. And I'd like to know what kinds of myths and legends, if they have them, that they have. I know you probably don't have time to tell us one tonight. If you would, I'd love it. But, you know, if you could get that information for Val, I'd love to have that.
Okay. They don't call them myths. They call it history. Okay? And I will give those to Val. All right? And you're right, there's a lot, but it's history. We have taken truth and shrouded it as myth because we're hiding an agenda. How do they show mutual respect? They just honor every aspect of their life and everybody else's life. Because they're so evolved, there's no such thing as crime there. There's no laser shootings on a mothership. There's no, they need for nothing. They absolutely need for nothing. Anything that they need is given to them for evolvement. And they all work towards that. They wouldn't think about leaving somebody behind. I'll give you a good example of that too. There was a ship, an extraterrestrial craft that was apparently shut down in 1985. I believe it was 1985. And it was a human being from Tau Ceti who literally got too close, and he was shot down. I understand that our military was able to take him, took him underground somewhere in Arizona, put him on a car, a train, took him underground to North Dakota, where they started doing some really horrific things. Mornay told me that a Tau Ceti fleet wanted to come in and invade our planet, particularly North Dakota, to get this guy back. Okay? And it was literally the Andromedans and the Pleiadians, a benevolent group of Pleiadians, that stepped in and said, whoa, no, not yet. It's not the time. That's mutual respect. It's not leaving POWs in Vietnam because you promised the government $3 billion. It's not leaving men in North Korea because you lied, because you're dealing drugs. You don't want everybody else to know. That's not mutual respect. They would never ever think to do something like that. And those are things. Those are characteristics we need to look at, because there are many in this room that probably know about that. I mean, there right now, as we are standing here right today, there are 117 men still left in SPOWs, but they're not in Vietnam. Okay, they're being held in northern Laos. There are also 3 men that are still alive from the Korean War, still being held in North Korea. And our government knows, and they know. A lot of the POWs were used for scientific experiments. We did it to some of their guys, using drugs, LSD, we blew their minds. And they've done some pretty horrific things to our people. These are all real character issues, and it's one thing to hear about it in the news or to listen to Joyce Riley talk about the Gulf War syndrome and how our guys have been betrayed. It's one thing to sit in your living room and say, oh my God, that's terrible. What you don't understand is that we are very carefully being watched by some incredible races, both good and bad. And they are watching us and our characteristics, what we will do, what we will not do. They are measuring our honor and intent. Okay? It's not just about us anymore. It's about everything. And I know you're probably being taught that. So when you hear stuff like this, please don't go into your little box. Okay? Those people had families. They had children just like you do now. And it was all taken away because they were betrayed. And betrayal is a major issue that we're all going to have to deal with when the truth finally does come screaming out. Okay? We have been betrayed. And we're going to have to come together and find a way to totally forgive that so that we can move on. But in forgiving it, it's important not to allow it to happen again, to be more diligent, to be more vigilant. I'm so tired. I don't even have my notes. Okay, it's on the internet. All right, the Earth Changes, it's on the internet. Most of you already know. Okay, you're looking for dates, specific dates, what time, so on and so forth. That's not important. It is definitely coming, but it's all a probability as to when. All right? But there are more people negatively polarized on the planet that it's almost a sure thing that it's going to happen at this point.
seeding of this planet by the Andromedans originally, you mentioned 62,000 years ago in a time period of only 65 years, but I'm specifically interested, do you know of any symbols or any information about reawakening latent genetics?
Oh, God, you got to pick up some stuff after that. You know, and there's no home ec and stuff like that. I mean, it's like real educational stuff. You know, no car mechanics 102 or anything like that. Yes, sir.
My question has to do with the seeable
Things, I'm sure. Things that are probably way over my head. And most things are, actually. So, but they treat them like adults. And again, they teach them everything from a very young age. I mean, they go to school for 150 years. You know, folks, let me set you straight on something, or what the Andromedan perspective is. Atlantis was an extraterrestrial colony. Okay? I know that there's a lot of channeled stuff and other stuff that's done in remote viewing and
for people who are on this planet, and is there any relationship of Lemuria to that 62,000 year ago time period?
Lemuria was in existence at that point. Atlantis was just beginning to be colonized.